creative space has really evolved over the years, starting from when the last 10 years to where we are today. If you're looking at most of us managing brands, didn't just come in to start managing brands. We came from somewhere. For we to start managing brands, it means that we're also creators, right? And all that, because there's a bit of creative elements in everything you're doing and all that. So if you're saying how do we go about choosing brand creators, right? And all that, I can 100% tell you that if there's a brand manager here, right, as at December or November, you may have already done your brand plan for 2026. Right? It means that by your kickoff meeting, by maybe December, January, you're presenting the plan for the year, right? And all that, as in collaboration with the creative agencies and all that and all that. So there's a lot of deep work that is involved in aggregating most of these creators, right? Because you're looking at different products you want to launch for the year, and you must look at different creators that appeal to most of those markets. From where I sit, I work in luxury goods industry, so it's kind of very, very niche, right? So it's kind of a bit difficult, right? Because like the lie was trying to explain about him having 2.1 million followers. And if I sign lie now, right? Because he has 2.1 million followers, I don't think I can even get one person that is following him that will even buy one item from whatever I'm selling. So it kind of...
Why is that though?
You see, number one, we're talking about the credibility of the brand, first of all, right? Last year, during the fashion week in Paris, Mexico wanted to do something globally. They were working with influencers globally because they wanted to push the fashion week on TikTok, right? So they had reached out to a Nigerian TikToker that lives in actually, where does that lady live? Like Okukumaiko, right? The kind of content that this lady creates, it's something that it's far from anything luxury, right? But because of that different KPIs, maybe I don't know what they want to achieve, and they hand twisted us to pick that lady, right? But we could have gone for maybe an influencer that speaks to the DNA of the brand. There is credibility, there is authenticity, there is, the aesthetic is there, everything is there. So most times, from where we sit also, we kind of have difficulties, right? Because there's different KPIs, right? I have my own KPI for Nigeria. Maybe the brand will have a global KPI they want to meet. Funny enough, the global marketing director for the brand wants to achieve a global KPI, not revenue driven per se, but maybe they want to tick a box, right, and all that. So it's kind of very difficult, right? And most times when there's a bit of pushback between we seated here and the creators, look as if it's personal. It's not personal because behind you there are a lot of processes involved, a lot of people you have to manage and all that. I guess we'll talk about, I don't know how many of you deal with audits, and all that. They're telling you, oh, you spent XYZ amount on this creator, how much came in. Finance is telling you, oh, money has not come in the last 1 week, you launched a campaign and all that. So where we sit, in as much as we understand the pain points, we also have a challenge. So we always want to go back, you understand, to defend and defend and defend. But there's a limit to how much we can defend because for the company, not for you, right? And all that. So I don't know if I answered.
Can I please add to what is said? I want to knock our head. So a lot of brands, I think we need to go back to the drawing board. The digital space has evolved so much, right? And it has also shifted the measure of impact and value. We can't do anything about that. A lot of brands, corporates, whether or not corporate, I understand the need for, you have a stakeholder that you have to, to submit to. You're probably working with a very short time span. You have to deliver. You also want to look good to your boss. But then I would also speak from the influencers also, like they said, agencies, Teresa said, some of the agencies have people they report to. In the corporate space too, we have people, if there's no campaign without a stakeholder, there's somebody that is at the top that you have to send a final report to. I feel like brands need to do the work. If you are a seasoning brand, sit down, take your time. It will take a very good if it's a 1 week brainstorming session that you need, where the people in that meeting are the people that actually know the market, they know the influencers that strategically target that conversation. Please go for them. I feel like there's one major mistake, which is that because you want numbers, because you want it to translate, because you want to make money, well, this person is popping, this person's voices. It's not about the loudest voice on the internet. It's about impact. It could be the voice that is not even so loud. But you know that like someone said, subtle, what's the name now? Subtle promotion. Yes, it could be the person that in the most subtle, quiet way pushes out their content. But yes, guess what? It is not the numbers. It's not about, oh, this person followed. They followed you, okay, so how are they saving the content? How are they going to the market to say, okay, I want to actually go there? Target the influencers and the content creators that align with your product and your market. If you look for 10 of them, you may not get exactly what you want, but you will get more than you need. So I think we need to do more work as corporate firms and organizations.
It's funny how all three of you laid a lot of emphasis on brand alignment. I feel like brand alignment was more a thing back in the day. A brand would announce an influencer and you can see why this brand has chosen to work with this person. As a talent manager, I've been in rooms where I'm Tanya's manager, I'm pitching. A lot of times you guys are even agreeing with me that Tanya's brand aligns with your brand. But I'm still getting, but does she have up to 5 million followers? Why are you asking for this? With this number? So I feel like you guys put numbers first, but you are not even admitting it on this side. That number, like let's talk with our full chest. You guys are not admitting that numbers is like the key thing for you, because that's the first thing that you throw back at us when we try to pitch our clients.
So you may think that numbers is a thing. However, having worked for multiple multinationals and coming from two different cultures that have higher populations than their continent,
just up and down.
Each country is in numbers.
Okay.
And numbers because you are one person in a population of 200 and something or 1 billion something. Your ROI has to do with how many people consume your time. So it's not a case of, oh yes, you have, that live service 2 million something, you never been using my Samsung. Because if he does one post, he has engagement of 10% the first time. The frequency of another maybe say 19%. People are going to see it. And it's not a case of, oh, is your followership numbers. No, we want a situation where we can quickly. Because that long term people are looking for. If I'm working with it, it's a numbers are not really a numbers thing. When you guys will be able to answer this, it is a numbers thing, but it's also not really a numbers thing, because why we're looking at your followership is because we want to get to as many people as possible within the time frame, within the budget that we have. So if I'll take Phenom, for instance. Phenom has their head office in France, and then we have Absolute in Sweden, and then we have Sub-Saharan Africa, and then we have Nigeria. The budget cascades down from there, but the reports cascade up from us, up to them. Everybody is looking at what has Nigeria contributed. Nigeria is the largest population in Africa. If we're going to give them a share load of money to put out communication for a vodka brand when it's a whiskey market or it's a cognac market, what is the justification for that? If I'm saying I'm going to use someone that has 2.something million followers to be able to move my brand, what is that impact? Because I'm only going to give you 1 month's budget. I'm only going to give you 3 months budget. So the success of Davido on Martell has been based off of, it didn't start for 1 year. This is like a gradual process of, okay, let's see, and then we saw the impact and then, okay, we can do a long term, but it never started with the same thing with MI, the same thing with Phenom. It didn't start with let us sign for 1 year and it's going to make it immediately. No, because there are all these different levels and stakeholders, and yes, we're supposed to do the research and do whatever, but do we have the time? Do we have the time? Really?
Let me chip in there. You're right. Sometimes the time, you don't have the time. Okay, again, I'm going to use Nigeria as an example. if you knew about the Stop HPV for Her campaign that happened last year, please let me just, so I know that we can align. Yes, okay, great. So for those who don't know, it was a conversation to talk more about HPV, to create awareness around HPV-related cancers and also touch points on cervical cancer and how it can be prevented. Now, we had this campaign in 1 month. Ideation to execution. Oh, I take you back. Ideation to reporting. 1 month. Everyone who saw that campaign, I'm sure they would have thought that, they've been planning this thing for 10 years. It was 1 month. But it was just so a lot of things come into, of course, the decision from stakeholders. Someone probably just came up with the decision, okay, let's see how we can call 10 people together. It was sometimes, I think in this space, we have a lot of all those spontaneous campaigns. But look, 1 month, and I said something, we had 2 meetings every week. My boss is there, I used to grumble. I wake up and I'm like, we have to meet again. And on that call, everybody has to share their own deliverable, and you're coming to talk, so you know that you cannot just come and say, I don't have anything to say. Now, all of this to say that I get that sometimes the constraint is the timing, but it also depends on each and everybody on that project and the effort and the way they pull their weight. With dedication, with good calendar for each person, and also having your, how would I say it now? You know what you're chasing. You know that, okay, for this, so I'm supposed to look for 30 partners. Pre-planning, planning on the go, and even foresighting. A lot of things, but I think it just boils down to planning. If you have the right people in the room, they know what their responsibilities are, they plan accordingly. You can have a campaign in 1 week. Who says you can't? It just depends on everybody in that room and how they're able to pull their weight. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, can it be better? Yes, because if we have that mentality, to be honest, it will draw us back. Maybe we need to change that mentality. A campaign can happen successfully in 1 week.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, expectations will be different. But yes, I've had to do campaigns in 3-4 days, but expectations have to be.
Definitely.
I think now you guys should please talk us through the internal realities of approvals, budgets, and other constraints that you guys have that shape influencer partnerships. Yes, please.
I think very interesting. There's a lot of drama, right? I think when it comes to influencer management, a lot of KPIs, there are different KPIs, right? So, and I think that since we have creators here, it is also important for creators to also have KPIs, because most times you engage creators, they're just all about creating, posting it. I can remember we working with one of this, I won't mention the name, working with one of this influencer or one of this creator who feel that my job is just to post. I don't know how to tell stories. Just bring the camera and I will just act it. Then it doesn't work that way, right? Because I'm not paying you just for you to just show up, right? I'm also paying you to ideate and all that. So there's a lot of KPIs that's involved in all this and all that. So I think it's also important that creators spend time in also coming up with their own KPIs and saying how they want to mirror themselves. Maybe, I don't know what brand you have to look at, different international influencers you can look at. I remember I wanted to work with one influencer and I had to go bring one influencer from the US and in the UK and I said, please, can you mirror this person in the next 6 months? I can work with you, right? And all that. Because I know the whole day is about the aesthetics, it's about the look and feel, it's about visual. Visual appealing is also very important. So there are different KPIs that we look at. Then when you start looking at the numbers, you have a lot of back stakeholders that you need to manage from that point of view. Because marketing is doing their end of year report and saying that, this year our likes, our page grew from this to this, engagement grew from this to this. The finance guy and the sales guy is sitting and say, how did this trickle down to traffic, to depleting the stock, right, and all that? Because everything ties together. Don't forget, different companies have objectives for the year. My objective for this year is to double revenue, right? So that means every activities that marketing would have to do would collaborate to doubling revenue. So either from driving traffic to the stores, or driving traffic to the websites, or even on WhatsApp for Business. One level of consummation or transaction do we get from WhatsApp for Business? From the customer service point of view, the customer service experience manager is looking at all the calls, inbound calls that have come in, and how should we be able to what they call convert those clients to actual buying clients. So the KPIs cut across. So you can't just come. We've gone beyond the stage where we brand managers just come and say, oh, we launched a campaign, we spent $1 million and we grew the page from this to this. No, other stakeholders are there saying, no. You spent $1 million. I'm sorry. How much did you generate for $1 million? So all that trickles down to all the other fillers. Thank you.
Can I say something? I want to speak to the incident where you said that you had somebody that you were working with and he said he thought that his job was just to post. I think that brands don't understand that influencers also function in two capacities. They are mediums. There's also their creative side that you need to tap to. And there's a figure for both. When brands say things like, oh, I'm big, why do I need to? There's marketing and there's effective marketing. If you're going to choose to work with a particular influencer, it's because you want to buy into their community that you are also trying to tap into. And there's a fee for that. But a lot of times, brands will want to pay a tiny fraction and want the whole 9 yards. So I feel like it's okay for an influencer to say, give me your material, I will post, and there should be a fee for that. And there's also a fee for if you want me to create, if you want to tap into my creativity, where I'm creating and doing all of these things for you, there should always be a fee. There should also be a fee for that. But I don't think it's wrong for any influencer to say, oh, I just want to post.
Can I go to that?
Yeah.
The earlier section we're talking about long term, short term, and that is where we see. That's where we see because hardly will you see a brand sign you. If we are signing you, now we don't. Hardly do you see a brand do ambassadorship, right, and all that. So mostly you have influencers working. So you give them short term projects to work on because part of what you do, like for example, we have what we call the Swarovski brunch, for example. What was the initiative for the brunch? It's something that is, I don't think any brand have been able to tap into that for us because it's a niche for us. Where we invite, like it's a community of 12 amazing women, right? We call them the Sparkle Queens, right? And the idea around those 12 amazing women coming from different communities, maybe Nollywood, somebody will be in BB Nigeria, different whatever that. And we use that day, right, to check who is this person. As you're there with us having that brunch, we're evaluating you already, or evaluating you based on who you are, the time you even came in for the event. One, someone is marking you. What you were doing, were you engaging people, were you fascinated and excited about the people you know, and how you were able to, create something from that brunch. And if you notice vividly for Swarovski, almost all our Sparkle Queens have always come from our brunch because we always pick them from the brunch. That has always been the strategy and all that. Because before we sign you, right, we need to know what you're here for, right? Because we worked with people in the past. Like you said what you said earlier, right? We worked with people in the past. We just signed you up. And you said, oh, you have your own team. Your team is to ideate for you, create for you, but they are just dumb. Nothing is happening on the page, the WhatsApp page. Then it's time for you to go create your content. We send you items to create. You say, oh, I don't even know. Oh, the items came. Oh, I just quickly. You have a calendar, right? And the things were sent to you a week or few days before, and it's taking you forever, right, to create the content. And you're saying, oh, ask you why. And you're saying, oh, I'm not a creator. Why did you sign the contract? Right? So those are the challenges that we face as a brand, or as brands, right? As brand ambassadors or as brand managers and all that. So just to add here, thank you.
So with regards internal issues and what brands or what things we go through, let's look beyond the brand or the brand team or marketing team. Influencer content, influencer selection, influencer anything has to go not just through the marketing team, even though the marketing team is probably the one, or the agency comes to the marketing team to propose that they use this person for the brand, but it's also us going through procurement, us going through finance, us going through audit, us going through corporate affairs, because there's brand fit, there's crisis management, there's volatility of the person. Simple example, NSAS, near independence, they wanted to use Mr. Macaroni for something for fan milk, but then sometime into the NSAS process, we found him back with Guru papers. That ends that. No matter how many months we had going through conversation, and there was going to be something that we have done that we great fit. He's very, very enthusiastic. He's able to fit whatever it is that we want to do, what we want to push for Independence Day, that fight for the nation, all of that stuff, within the narrative of everything that was going on in that time. But this has happened, and corporate affairs from France comes and says, oh, unfortunately, we've seen this about this person on Twitter, it can't go forward, and that ends that. So we're starting, we've lost that campaign. There's nothing to do. And that has nothing to do with, obviously, yes, the marketing team will know that you can't use him any longer, but between the afternoon that it happened and the 5 minutes after the tweet came out and profound was when corporate is already, names, do you know that this is happening? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm looking at it too. I'm still processing. Do we go ahead? No, not that do we go ahead, but then who is the next option? Procurement is telling you that, oh, the budget that we have for this is this amount. If you have to get somebody else, the next best fit, the person might be more expensive or not available. Your finance team is telling you, anybody who wants to bring the agency must be 1 million, because you're not going to allow any new person, any new agency to come with somebody that's not an agency's roster. It's not just a one-way street to the marketing team. It's a company-wide situation that has to go, all sorts of stakeholders that have to answer and respond to these whole different things. So, and then budgets. Budgets that you think are never, ever, ever flexible. You think that, oh, you have a brand plan and you've done this and you've done that. Nuh-uh. Because tomorrow, your marketing budget, a lot of companies' marketing budget is based off of the revenue that they get. Some companies, 15% of marketing, or 15% of revenue is marketing. So it's not that in the beginning of the year. In some companies, yes, I have worked with companies that in the beginning of the year, so you have $10,000 for the year, what to do with this your business. But there are companies that will tell you in the quarter, if you make this amount, you can use 20% of that amount as your budget for anything marketing for the quarter. In some cases, it's the entire year. I worked in betting, and that was, if you make this amount of money between now and now, you have a full budget of 900 million pounds. If you don't make that money by March, you don't get up to 90K. And there's nothing you want to say to the guys in South Africa, the guys in Spain, the guys in Malta. There's no hand groveling now, because the industry you are in is not an industry where you don't say anything. It's a betting company. You have to have somebody in the forefront to be able to say, come on, do your kalu. And as much as the house always wins, it's always a case of, you have to have somebody making those possible. So budgets are never flexible. Budgets always come in different shapes and forms, and that's why agencies always have that slight uncertainty that you get to wonder, these people are the middlemen, that's why they're trying to shortchange me. No, because they also have to make their money. And there's also uncertainty in terms of budget from the parent company or from the brand company that is neither here or there, because if this person doesn't make those numbers, if this person doesn't get to the number of people that can make the revenue that we need, we don't get a marketing budget for them to continue long-term partnerships. So it goes beyond just, oh, okay, yeah, we're looking for, there's just a marketing team. It goes beyond that as far as I'm concerned.
So that budget conversation, why is it something that cannot, really be discussed? Why is it that brands and agencies don't keep like an open conversation? An influencer can place a value on themselves and say, okay, for this is what I will charge. It doesn't mean, but the same way you guys have things that you consider internally, they too might want to align, not just because of what you have to pay, but because of what that partnership also does to their brand and how they are perceived. So sometimes you say, oh, this is send your rate card. They send their rate cards, but you know that, okay, what you've seen on this rate card is way above your budget. But why is it that you cannot openly say, okay, for this project, this is what my budget is, and let them have that liberty to decide if they want to perhaps maybe tweak one or two things to, to still be able to accommodate that budget. But why is it always this is my figure, okay, bye. Yeah. Why is it always that?
Sometimes it's a case of, for me personally, and this is me, I would say this, I'm not one that wants to shortchange anybody. No matter you being my friend or being somebody that is an influencer, I want to give a good. So if my budget cannot reach through, I cut my, even though they say because I've cut my size this year, I cut my goods.
But tell me that this is what my budget is.
But then the thing is, what if you tell me, I know you give me, I know two sides, you know only one side, you know your budget. Now, I feel that if you tell me your budget for a video is 500k, and I know that my CMO has said that the budget that we can do for this influencer is 1 million for everything they want to do. I have two sides of the coin. You have one side, which is your fee. I have my side and I have your side. And I know that if I tell you I have only 1 million, I'm insulting you.
Not necessarily.
Oh, very necessary, because the thing is that I've essentially just, you've said 500 for one video. I want you to do 4 videos. I'm insulting you.
No, I think that sometimes
But then,
give them the option to do that.
yes, there's that. There's that. But then, there will also now be me having my stringent preference. Don't do this, don't do that. Yes, I'm also one of those people that like, you have to be very, you have to give grace for you have to do your do's and don'ts, non-negotiables. But then by the time I now start saying, and this is experience where I say, okay, tell me what's your budget. My budget is, and when I send the brief, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't feature this, you can't say this, you can't say that. And my list of, my laundry list is longer than your dress. As much as, and this is not essentially from, this is me carrying out from the brand guidelines and giving to you to say, okay, if you still want to go ahead and work with me, this is my laundry list of things that you cannot do and you must do and you should do and you shouldn't do and whatever it is. And then I'll come back and say, is it loss? You're not paying me that much. That statement will still come out. And that in itself is now a problem because I'm like, but I told you that my budget is managed. And I'm not trying to insult you. As much as I want you to, it's now left for you to decide that yes, you want to go ahead and work. But the thing is, it still will come with expectations that you cannot meet based off your creativity and the money that is your price. That is value of the creativity that you now want to go ahead and work with. So I don't know if anybody.
So I want to. I mean, I don't think I want to add per se, because I feel like you're speaking from a stream that you swam well in, so you know what you're saying. Maybe I want to come from a bit of maybe a solution angle. When it comes to partnerships, I'm very aware of 3 types of partnerships. I'm aware of support partnerships. I'm aware of paid partnerships, and I'm aware of barter partnerships. Now, under these 3 elements that we have under partnerships, one solid foundation is transparency. Now, we're looking at 3 arms here. We're looking at the brand, we're looking at the agency, we're looking at the consumer, that is the influencer, the content creators. At the end of the day, everybody is selfish. Let's not take that away. Everybody is looking out for themselves. Content creator has budget for the year. November, I have to be in Maldives. I have to make my money. So, 1 naira out of my money cannot, they do their budgets foresight from January. They know what they're looking for. Agency, on the other hand, your job is at stake. They've told you from January, your target is so and so. If you don't meet it, okay, go out. So everybody is selfish. Now, I want to ask, in the light of this type of partnerships that we have, for content creators, I think it is fair if there's a level of, I don't think every job that you do should necessarily be 100% revenue inflow. Realistically not. So I think, first of all, having that mentality that as a content creator, not all your jobs will give you 100%. Now, is it a thing where, based on your observation of the organization and your research of this organization and the value it brings to you, maybe based off association or based off numbers, whatever it is for you, are you open to a paid partnership where it's like, okay, hey, Mimi, I want to work with the organization. But then Mimi has come from the get-go and has transparently told me that, look, Motunde, we don't have, and I think there's also something called approach, which is a problem. And that's what causes the major issues between agencies and content creators, the way that you approach. Now, I'm not saying a lot of agencies do this or a lot of brands do it, but it's even for human beings. If I want to collect her orange blazer, it's the way I walk up to her. Oh, hi, you look amazing. Orange looks beautiful on you, but it will look better on me. Can I have it? Or if I don't go and say, look at this, your blazer. Where is it? It depends on how you meet people. Now, For an agency, you need to understand that the creator does not know you. You're not a father, you're not a mother, she doesn't send you from here to there. So you cannot come with an entitlement mentality. If you come and you say, oh, hi, hey, baby, amazing work that you did with so and so project. That's why we want to work with you again. But there's a concern. We don't have a budget. However, we really want to work with you because we know you give us value. Is it possible that we have a paid partnership? And then your paper is not by mouth. You have a document that says, because of the budget we have, and we know that your rate is 10 million naira, we're able to, because you've also done your arithmetic, knowing that because of the budget you have, you cannot give Baby 10 million naira. But you want to work with Baby. Baby, I will give you 5 million naira. But we would see how we can equate the remaining 5 million to also serve your brand. Maybe it's a thing where we have a trip to Malta. We'll see, can we do it in such a way that you give us service of 5 million naira, we'll pay you cash upfront, and then we have an experiential or familiarization trip to Malta. We will take you there as an influencer. If Baby says maybe our manager is very strict, because Baby knows that you've given her two things. For one, you've given her financial inflow, but you've also given her presence for her brand. So I want to know, and that's why all this to say that where do we open that door to explore all the types of partnerships that there is? And not just leave it to money has to be paid 100%, because content creator has to also understand that it is not in the agency's hand as much as they think it is. Agency also has to understand that the content creator didn't send your father.
So I think it's in the communication. I can't speak. I'm sure when we open up questions and answer, they will be able to ask. But for my client, for example, she doesn't liaise directly with brands. So she will do as I have pitched, like it's for me to recognize value and make her understand why this partnership is important. But some influencers represent themselves, and in those cases, most times, the only language is money. So it's hard for me to be able to say, oh, this is what and what, but as a talent manager, I feel like my own major thing is communication. Keep an open communication. If you say it to me, if the approach is right and you said it to me, I also, because a lot of times I let my talents know, not everything is money. Sometimes value. Sometimes we need to position ourselves in places where it will later translate to money. So when you deal with a talent that has representation, I think it's an easier conversation to have than when you liaise like directly with the talent. But I'm now being told that.
Can I comment? Can I just add to this? I think I sit on the other side, right? Because from where I sit, I don't like discussing influencership or influencer partnership agreements with the managers.
Why?
I don't. You see, because the managers don't understand that the creator is also a brand, right? And the manager doesn't understand right? Because I represent a brand, you don't know my brand, right? So there's always a divide between the creator and the brand. So I always, we cannot sign any influencer that we don't have direct one-on-one conversation with. The manager can be there, listen to the conversation 100% with no disrespect, right? But because most times the pain points or the pain point sits with the influencer, or the creator, not you. So most times you have managers who are so strict that they just make the agreement or the partnership so difficult, right? So that you've lost it. But if you want to work with me, I sit with the creator one-on-one. I tell you, please, I have this package for you. Your rates don't realistic. Sorry, I'm so sorry, I can't pay you. But these are things we can do. Please, I have certain discount for you, shopping discount for you. I have influencer code. If you make social revenue for me, I give you this. I start pitching to her, right, so that I can buy her. Because it's not about just posting and going. I want her to also be an advocate of the brand. I also want her to see that she's also part of Polo, because that's why we call all our influencers friends of Polo, right? Because we want you to be part of Polo, we want you to shop the brand, we want you to come and want you to refer people. So we don't want to treat you from a distant point of view, liaising with you with your manager. No. I want to have one-on-one.
But I think that's where you miss the difference between the manager and management. because the deliverables are
No. I think, well, for like to just address her point, right? Because if I give you that feedback, there's no how you can't relate it to her.
No, that's
I think
I
we'll
Okay.
function in management capacity, so I understand there's other values that I have to do. Now, my deliverables also includes, value, how my brand is perceived, and all of those things. So it's different working with management and management. It's two different things.
Seeing as we're about setting the blueprints, right? We're at the partnership blueprint, so we're going to set the blueprints at the consensus session, right? Where all of this will be taken care of. So I'll hand over now to Teresa.
Can we take questions?
Yes, we'll be taking at the consensus.
But just out of sensitivity for everyone's time and our wonderful partners who we pulled out of the day to talk about influencers, I'm sure they're just looking at us waiting for their session. But I want them to be able to deliver value before we all have to leave. They're going to break down the different elements and details. But so in the consensus session, we'll ask questions. But what we're trying to do with the consensus session is actually agree. So here you have corporate brands represented and people with a crap ton of experience. And my one regret is one of our panelists unfortunately couldn't make it due to bereavement, right? But I wanted him to speak to it from a procurement perspective. Because we worked on a project like that and it was a mess. We're fortunate that the relationship survived. I won't even look to the right because I have like a lot of people. And it shows how much company processes impact the relationships between brands, influencers, and even the middlemen, PR firms and influencers. If you're dealing with a company that has a 90-day payment turnaround time, what do you say to your influencers? And then when we had that example, this happened in the middle of an interest rate environment that went from 10% to 24%. We actually ran at a loss, But from the influencer perspective, all they know is we agreed, you promised, you've not paid me, but it's not that simple. And if we're going to work in partnership, we have to understand. Fortunately, we're fortunate to work with a lot of really gracious, seasoned people, right? So we've been able to survive that, which is another thing we'll be discussing. But we're going to take all of the questions. I really want to thank everyone on this panel, actually. They are Phenom people, right? They are people. I want to thank Omotiti. I want to thank Ola. I want to thank Mimi, and I definitely want to thank Fadikemi. Thank you guys so much. Some of them we had to pull by the leg because somehow the guys inviting you to come and create content are always avoiding platforms. But here they are, under duress. So I want to say a huge thank you to you guys. Please let's celebrate them. Thank you so much.